we're asked to live, or we're wanting to live so many years past menopause, which we've never done before in the history of humanity, right? And we want to live as healthy as we can. So, speaking specifically about skin, our skin cells have estrogen receptors. And so, women have been using estrogen on their skin. They've probably been using their vaginal estrogen cream on their skin. Even back in the 40s, cosmeceuticals had estrogen cream or had estrogen in the creams back before the FDA was even a thing. And so this isn't really a new thing to be using estrogen in our topical skincare, but it's sort of getting a resurgence, especially as we now realize A, it's safe, you don't have systemic absorption, and we're seeing the benefits that it can help with hydration. It can help improve the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles and just make our skin look healthier.
Welcome back to the Menopause Disruptor podcast. So glad to have you here on the show. If you're new, welcome. Okay, this episode, we're moving away from one organ in the body to another one that's even bigger, brighter, and more important. Sometimes. Well, it certainly gets more attention every day. And that is our skin. You know, the health of our skin and its appearance has more to do with what we put in our bodies as opposed to what's put on top of our skin. But our regime on how we handle our skin from the outside can be so important. And yet we make it so complicated. It really comes down to a simple formula. And I'm here today to talk with dermatologist Alice Mina about healthy skin regimes. And her advice, less is best. Use that good old KISS principle. Keep it simple. Take the minimalist approach when it comes to your regime. Also, keeping your skin regime simple frees up more time for more important regimes like your workout and lifting heavy weights. Because yes, there is a direct correlation between resistance training and your body's production of collagen. You will be amazed at what Mary Alice has to share on that topic. But before we begin, here's something you need to know about Mary Alice. Dr. Mary Alice Mina is a Harvard-trained dermatologist and international speaker, author, and host of The Skin Reel, a podcast ranked in the top 2.5% globally. As a co-owner of Baucom and Mina Derm Surgery in Atlanta, Georgia, she is a leading expert in procedural dermatology, skin health, and skin care. With nearly 2 decades of clinical experience, Dr. Mina is celebrated for her artistic eye, surgical precision, and ability to help patients feel radiant at every stage of life. As a sought-after speaker, Dr. Mina delivers impactful keynotes and leads workshops and retreats focused on reframing aging, aesthetics, and skin health. Her insights have been featured in major media outlets, including People Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, Glamour, and Huffington Post. Passionate about empowering others, she combines her expertise with practical advice to inspire audiences to embrace their unique beauty and live confidently in their skin. I am just so humbled and delighted that she's joined me here on the Menopause Disruptor podcast. So let's just dive right in. Mary Alice, so happy to have you on the show to talk about skincare. And we're hearing more often that menopause symptoms, much like pain, is a form of communication in the body, and that our body is trying to tell us something. It's bad enough that we feel the discomforts of middle age with a number of symptoms, but when it comes to our skin, that's a whole new story. What is it that our body's telling us? And then more importantly, what can we do about it?
Yeah, so it's shouting at us, right? And I feel like the changes in our skin and appearance sometimes are the first sign that people notice. I'm in my 40s, in my mid 40s, and I remember a couple of years ago looking in the mirror like, "Oh, this is kind of what people are talking about that happens." And then my friends who are at 50 plus, right? They're like, "Oh, this is what happened. I feel like my face just fell overnight," right? And so we see these changes because the skin is visual, right? And our face, and we're women, right? So we're probably doing our hair and putting makeup on. And so we notice these changes and we present them to the world. And they can a lot of times be really, really distressing, not to minimize all the other symptoms of menopause that happen too, right? But it's kind of like outward shouting to the world about what's going on. But yeah, a lot of things happen in menopause, but the main thing is our estrogen drops. So we go from having all this estrogen, and really our estrogen and progesterone, they all fluctuate throughout our lives. We're never really in balance, like you hear a lot of people talk about, like with our menstrual cycles. But one thing, it does become balanced in menopause because it's essentially zero. And I had a discussion with a menopause expert on my podcast, and she told me something that just blew my mind is that men will have more estrogen than women who are postmenopausal, which I just thought was crazy. That's really what's going on is our estrogen is gone. And what we're realizing is estrogen is so key in all our organ systems and brain, heart, our endocrine system, not just GYN and not just skin. Skin is one of them. So yeah, we are just realizing the importance of estrogen as more and more women are living for longer and longer in the postmenopausal period.
This is true, yes. And estrogen, like bones, teeth,
Yeah.
skin. And I will say this has been my story getting ready in the morning and I look in the mirror and I see a little bit more saggingness around the eyes, around in the jowls. And fine lines is one thing, but when I see that sagging, that's when I feel like, oh, should be phoning in to get some Botox, some fillers. What should I be doing next?
Well, you are not alone. And I think especially as women, we put so much emphasis on how we look. And I feel this too, right? I'm not immune to it just because I'm a dermatologist. Maybe I'm even more aligned with it that we put so much pressure on looking young, looking youthful, and especially for women, it's like we're really not allowed to age past 25, maybe 30 max. And we're super critical on ourselves, but I feel you. Like, I don't love to look in the mirror and think, whoa, I have that crepiness I never had before. So it's a tough balance between trying to navigate this period, trying to embrace it and not see it as all negative and bad. And the way I see it is I want to do everything I can to look and feel as good as I can. I don't feel my age, and I think that's the issue with a lot of women, right? You're like, "Wait, how can I look this way because I feel like I'm 20 years younger, 30 years younger." So there's that sort of imbalance.
Yes, this is so true. Even if we're maintaining a healthy lifestyle with exercise and diet, we look in the mirror and it's telling us a different story. And that disconnection is
Yes.
disheartening. It truly is.
Yeah.
And I've been going through this own journey. I've relatively gone unscathed with menopause, although I spoke of brain fog quite extensively, the cognitive effects, any underlying issues with neurodivergent traits or trauma. But we can work on those things and privately and quietly, but it's putting your best face forward, literally. And when that best face is showing all signs of aging, it is disconcerting, but there's hope. There's good news. This is what your journey is all about in the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what was your inspiration to focus on the aging skin for women to perhaps empower them to feel like they can manage their menopause with a little bit of dignity?
Well, what motivated me is knowing that I am on the cusp of this is my going to be my journey very shortly and imminently, right? And noticing changes. And I love that women are finally talking about menopause. I feel like I never heard about menopause. Even in medical school, there's so little devoted to that. And I used to think, well, my OBGYN friends must be hearing about it, but not really. So I feel like the tides are turning. We're finally talking about it. It's no longer taboo. And I know as someone who's about to be 45, I want to get older. And so I know that this is going to happen. So, what can I do to position myself to be as healthy as possible when I'm 55, 65, 75? So, that's really the impetus for me. And then the other thing is, I just feel like there's so much misinformation about skincare and skin health out there. And people are desperate to hold on to their youth and their beauty. And so they fall for all these gimmicks and hype. And I just want to be a voice of reason out there about what you can do, what you can't do, what's worth your money, what's not, just to give people good information. I know it's hard to see a dermatologist in person. Our medical system is not really set up for preventative care. And so this is just kind of my way to get the message out there that yes, there are changes coming, or you might be experiencing them, but they don't all have to be terrible. We can embrace them. There are things we can do. And I'm all about just vitality. And I truly believe when you take care of your body and you feel good from the inside, that does make you look better, period.
Amen to that. So let's start unpacking some of those gimmicks, those falsehoods, those myths. We are inundated on
Yeah.
social media feeds with the latest in makeup and the anti-aging era. And we're just soaking it up and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars looking for the solution, the
Yeah.
fountain of youth. Let's get right to it, though. What are the biggest myths and the biggest traps that women are falling into?
Gosh, I think this idea that you have to stamp out every single sign of aging is really detrimental to people because you're never going to be happy. You're
Yeah.
going to fixate on every little wrinkle and flaw, and you're not going to be able to see the overall picture of how you look. And that's when I think people can start looking weird. They go to a very piecemeal approach. Oh, I want bigger lips. Then they go here for lips. Then, oh, I need to do this for my cheeks, and they do that for their cheeks. They're buying tons of products. They're using them all at once. They don't really know what's working, what's not. Their skin's getting irritated. So I think this obsession with stamping out every little wrinkle, every little crease, I would recommend taking a step back and looking at everything a little more objectively. I say throw away your magnifying mirror and see someone who's really knowledgeable about skin, like a dermatologist, if you can, because so many times people are just going to people who are selling them something, or they've got the device and so they're going to use the device on everyone. There's not like a one thing that everyone has to do per se. I sort of say you have to balance your skin needs, so what your skin needs are with what your goals are, because some people are going to be like my mom, who won't even use a topical vitamin A cream in the evening. And she is such a minimalist, like a true minimalist. And there are other people who want to do anything and everything, including surgery and injectables and all that. And then I would say most people fall in the middle there. So it's not like there's one thing. Well, I will say there are a couple, I think, foundational pieces, but it's going to vary for everyone, right? But I would say the first thing is just stop listening to all the hype and the nonsense out there. We see all these filtered images on social media. I truly think people have forgotten what real skin looks like. And even my son has looked at my skin and said, "Oh, mom, you have pores," like horrified. And I'm like, yes, that's normal skin. All skin has pores. So unfortunately, we are so used to these filtered images that we truly don't even know what normal skin looks like.
Oh, for sure. When you say filters, the first thing that comes to my mind is when the Zoom era kicked in, COVID-19, all those
Yeah.
meetings at work or in whatever organizations and volunteer work, we were all meeting online. And what became more obvious was our skin when we saw
Yeah.
ourselves and our faces on Zoom. And then all these filters started coming through. I probably have one on right now too. I'm cheating. But it's just, we were just mortified with what was staring back at us. It's bad enough in the mirror, but then you just forget about it. And then when you're reminded
Yeah.
in all those
Well,
meetings,
yeah, they say in those Zoom meetings, we spend more time just looking at ourselves than actually like listening to the content. But yeah, you're seeing yourself from different angles you've never seen yourself from before. Or the Zoom camera stops, right? And in the most inopportune time, and your neck looks terrible and all these things. So yeah, we're such a visual society. And now with social media, Zoom and everything, we're staring at ourselves more than we've ever before.
yeah. And that's a lot of the inner work that needs to be done. But and we'll get to that. I want to talk about the outer work first because
Yeah.
you alluded to the fact like your mom and the topical vitamin A cream. I don't know any of this stuff. I actually had to rely on my daughter to write me out a weekly skin cycling routine and when to use my retinol treatment and not to use it with exfoliant. And she started saying, don't mix this ingredients with that ingredients. And it's just all foreign to me. I was just looking at her.
Yeah.
Know this stuff, of course, because they're inundated with it too and
Yeah.
engaged in it. So I was completely lost. I probably still am. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there too who are in the same boat as me. So let's talk about a daily regime, and
Yeah.
particularly for busy women who are minimalists and we don't have the time
Yeah.
the capacity or desire to
Oh,
spend.
exactly. Yeah. I want to minimize my morning routine for sure. And I wasn't always that way, but definitely now I do. So your skincare can be really simple and basic. And even if you are someone who loves doing aesthetic treatments and stuff like that, you don't need a lot. I would say there are three must haves: a gentle cleanser, a sunscreen, and a moisturizer. So
Mm.
that's really it. And I'll say when I was younger, I didn't even need the moisturizer because my sunscreen was hydrating enough for me. But you got to wash your face. If you're not washing your face, you're not getting all that dirt and grime, makeup, whatever off. I only wash it in the evening before I go to bed. I find I can just splash water on my face in the morning. So whether you do it twice a day or once a day is up to you. But I would recommend before you go to bed, wipe off all that grime and dirt from the day and wear sunscreen in the morning. If you just wear sunscreen, I can't emphasize this enough. If you just sun protect, right? Wear a hat. Don't go to tanning beds. Wear rash guards if you're at the beach, or if you work outdoors, wear a hat with a brim. If you just do that, you will keep your skin looking youthful. You'll get 90% of the way there. And it's people don't believe me, but I take care of a lot of people with skin cancer and older people. And the ones who look the best, they have sun protected and their stomach looks like the skin on their arms. That's a little trick you can do. Like, how does the skin on your stomach look? That's typically sun protected versus the skin elsewhere on your body. So
Ah,
that's for the true minimalist.
right. Now, should we be looking for particular ingredients to have included and ingredients to avoid in those products?
For sunscreen,
In our cleansers as well, and in the
oh,
moisturizer.
yeah, I think people a lot of times overthink their cleanser. It doesn't have to be fancy. I've been using the Dove Beauty Bar, which is like looks like white soap
Yeah.
for decades. And I like it because it's cheap, it's easy. I can use it for my face and my body. It works. There's no reason you have to have a separate one. Now, some people may really enjoy applying skincare and all that. And so, fine, if you want to get a little fancier, that's fine. But I would say your drugstore is a perfect place to get a cleanser. I would not waste a lot of money on an expensive cleanser. You are just washing it off. So, CeraVe, Cetaphil, La Roche Posay, these are all great companies that make Aveeno, Vanicream, that make very acceptable, wonderful cleansers. If you tend to have more eczema prone or sensitive skin, you really want to make sure you're not using any fragrances.
Right.
I know that the fragrances smell good, the companies have beautiful packaging, but it's really, really unnecessary.
That's a really good point too, because and what makes the smell, the fragrance, is got to be
Yep.
some kind of a chemical product that's not naturally reoccurring. Strawberries
Right.
are not going to show up in your cleanser.
Yeah, I say save the botanicals for a beautiful bouquet at your house, right? And
Oh,
not necessarily what you're rubbing the delicate eyelid skin with.
aha. Okay. That reminds me of another question I want to ask. CeraVe, yes, I'm glad you said that one. That has been my go-to simple product. Okay, so then,
Oh, can I add one thing? So
yeah.
I'm typically super basic with my cleanser, but I will say I wear mascara and I would get mascara all over my white towels. I mean, I've for decades and it washes out and I never thought it was a big deal. But if you struggle with that, right? Like how do you get makeup off? A little tip I have is use an oil-based cleanser. So I do have an oil-based cleanser in my shower and I do a little pump of that rub it on my eyes to help remove the eye makeup, and then I follow up with my normal cleanser. So that's just a little hack if you do tend to wear makeup, especially waterproof makeup or mascara, that this can really, the oil-based cleanser can help. Use it first and then use your regular cleanser.
And then for somebody who's got oily skin and prone to breakouts, who's probably shying away from oil-based products, what would be a good alternative?
Yeah. So if you're just using it to remove makeup, you're fine to do that. Again, it's being washed off, it's not sitting on your skin. But if you do tend to have oily skin, look for a cleanser that says it's for like normal to oily skin. That will be something that's less creamy, less thick. And you might like that better. If you are acne prone, you may want to get a cleanser with something like salicylic acid in it that can also help reduce the amount of oil production and open up the pores.
Okay. So then we've seen a lot of products that say anti-aging on the labeling and they say collagen. How effective are they? So what is the best way that our body should be getting collagen? And we lose quite a bit of it. I think it's 30% by the time we hit
Yeah.
our years. Can
Yep.
we replenish on the surface, or does it need to be absorbed in the body?
Yeah, so really both, right? You want to maximize everything you can do from a nutritional standpoint to boost your collagen, a healthy diet, lots of protein for your muscles as well. Believe it or not, exercise, especially resistance training, can be helpful in boosting your collagen. So these are all, again, I say skincare is whole body care, right? Because a lot of times we just focus on what are we putting on our skin, but really taking care of our body is key. A big collagen depleter, smoking, and sun. Sun is a terrible depleter of collagen. So that is why people who consistently get a lot of sun damage have more wrinkles, because the UV radiation is breaking down their collagen faster. So if you're looking to yes, everyone loses collagen. Even someone who's 28 is already starting to lose their collagen. And then you get a big drop after menopause. So we know estrogen's important for that. Maximize your healthy routine with diet, nutrition, exercise, healthy habits, not excessively drinking, not eating a lot of sugar, and highly processed foods. So
Yes.
much of our diet has sugar in it. Even when you don't think you're eating something with sugar, it has sugar. So, especially packaged food, right? Look at the ingredients. I used to just look at calories and fat, and now I've realized like the sugar is probably what I really need to zone in on. But we know that eating a lot of processed foods can break down, accelerate the breakage of our collagen through these things called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. So those all impact collagen, right? So maximizing that is key. Topical wise, I would say the best thing to help boost your collagen is sunscreen. And number two, my favorite, a retinoid or an over the counter retinol is so powerful in boosting collagen. I would say if you are still want to be a skin minimalist, just add on a retinoid or retinol in the evening. And that's going to also get you like 95% of the way there with your skin looking great.
This is so good. I did not know that about collagen. Two things. Resistance training. Wow, to boost collagen. So I'm really big
Yeah.
on strength and stamina, sprint interval training, heavy resistance training, increase your load. I teach those classes. I preach and teach it.
Yeah.
Because here I was thinking muscle mass, bone health, bone density, heart and brain health. But collagen, well, I'm bringing.
Yeah. All of it. All of it. Yeah. They've shown exercise helps boost collagen, but resistance training even more so thickens the layer in our skin called the dermis.
Of course. Okay. And collagen taking a little or retinol or a retinoid, even a
Yeah.
drugstore brand. So we don't have to be going out and buying these expensive brands.
Yeah, exactly. My skincare routine is exactly what I've just said: a cleanser, sunscreen, moisturizer, and a retinoid in the evening. And I've been doing that consistently for decades. And it works. It's simple, right? So it doesn't sell, it's not sexy marketing, but it works. So again, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Well, the proof is in the pudding. Your skin is radiating. It's fantastic. And so listeners, you'll only hear this audio episode, but check out the promo clips and you will see radiant. Your skin is simple regime. Simple
Yeah,
is minimalist, less is
yeah.
best.
Oh,
So
we've got so many other things to worry about, right?
yeah, we truly do. Yeah, less time in front of the mirror, more time at the gym. I mean, you can look in the mirror at the
Exactly.
gym, but make sure you have heavy weights with you. Very good point, though. I want to touch on though what we put in our diet. Now, what are some of the foods that we could be eating to address things like the thinning of the skin or the dryness, or as we lose oil production as we age? Are there certain food groups that we can concentrate on to help with those natural recurring things with aging skin?
Yeah, so I would say the most commonly touted diet for healthy skin is the Mediterranean diet, where there's a focus and really eating whole foods, or I should say, plant forward and food that's not highly processed, right? Like eating a carrot that actually looks like a carrot, not carrot flavored, is
Yeah.
key. But the Mediterranean diet seems to have a ton of health benefits, but particularly for the skin, where there's an emphasis on lean protein, um, where there's a lot of like fruits and vegetables. Fiber is important, and again, this is all like fiber helps our gut, antioxidants help all our organ systems, but can also fight free radicals from sun damage. I love carbs. I can never be gluten free. I know some people are very sensitive to it, but you can eat carbs, but just eat the right kind of carbs, not highly processed carbs, but more fiber based can be helpful. So, in general, the Mediterranean diet is what we recommend for healthy skin.
And so supplements, are they any advantage? Or again, are we just pooling in a whole bunch of money that we don't need to invest?
Yeah, I actually just did a talk about hair supplements. So, supplements are something I've only recently started taking. And again, we should remember supplements are supplemental to our diet and health. But I know there's a craze for supplements. And there are some supplements I think can be beneficial. If you are struggling with hair loss, there are some hair supplements that have a mix of ingredients that can be helpful. I would say the biggest supplements, or I'll tell you what I'm taking, is a daily multivitamin. I think that's just a good baseline. But I also take vitamin D. And we're learning more and more that vitamin D is so important for our immune system. It can help with our hair. And most of us, or I shouldn't say most of us, but a lot of people are vitamin D deficient. And I know some listeners may say, well, that's why you should go outside. And that's why I don't wear sunscreen. But studies have actually shown that vitamin D levels don't correlate to whether you use sunscreen or not, which leads us to think that we just don't get enough relying just on the sun or even just on our food. There are not a ton of great vitamin D rich foods that people, especially adults, tend to eat. So I would say get your levels checked, but a lot of people are vitamin D deficient. As we age, we can't synthesize it in our skin as well. And if you have darker skin, more melanin in your skin, you also are not able to synthesize it as well. So rather than going outside for an hour and hoping that you're getting vitamin D synthesis, the reality is you're probably still not getting enough, and then you're getting all the bad side effects. So a supplementation with vitamin D, I think, is really helpful. Fish oil can be great. Now, I eat a ton of salmon, so I don't supplement myself with that one, but fish oil can be great. Vitamin D, those are kind of the ones I'm taking. I know creatine is a big one for a lot of people in the menopause area, perimenopausal state to help with muscle mass. But for me personally, I would say just tailor it to if you're struggling with something, right? So if you are having hair thinning, you may want to get a hair focused supplement. But again, supplements are supplemental to your diet.
Okay. Get it in our food first, of course,
Yeah,
except
if you can.
D3, where we just simply can't in North America. And this
Yeah,
simply cannot get enough sun.
yeah,
That's an excellent point, is that don't sacrifice protection of the skin from the UV rays just to get
right.
vitamin D, because we're actually causing more damage in the end. So
Yeah, exactly. And they make so many great supplements. It's so easy to supplement for vitamin D.
now, does magnesium play a role in our skincare?
So it's not as clearly defined. I am taking magnesium in the evening just to help with sleep. I know a lot of people in the menopause space recommend magnesium just for women in general. I am not aware of any like correlations with the skin per se, but again, by just being healthy overall,
Right.
then your skin looks better. So yeah, I think magnesium could definitely be a nice supplement for people, especially if you're having trouble with sleep or having some menopausal symptoms.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such as, constipation, being able to go to the washroom.
Yeah, yep, yep. If you get the citrate
Hydrate.
for sure. Yeah, and if you don't have trouble with constipation, get the glycinate one.
The glycinate, which is excellent for sleep. Excellent point about the fish oil as well, omega 3s. And I had done an episode previously, one of my earlier episodes about omega 3s and six deficiency, because a lot of communities don't have access to a fresh variety of
Yeah.
seafood, which is the highest source, of course. And so a supplement for omega 3 may be necessary, much like a vitamin D supplement. What
Yeah.
about other things, though, in terms of the gut microbiome and its role? Because I have often seen this, and it's become a habit of mine almost. When I see an individual, male or female, young or older, with really bad complexion, the first thing that comes to my mind is they have a liver problem or they have lack diversity in their gut microbiome. So what do we understand? Is there literature out there about maintaining balance in our good and bad bacteria that can actually help with?
Yeah, so definitely we are learning so much about the gut microbiome. We're learning about the skin microbiome, but for sure there does seem to be this gut skin brain connection that it's all connected, and the gut does so much more than just create stool, right? And pull out nutrients in our bodies. So what we eat, obviously, and I'm not a GI doctor, but affects our gut. If you're eating a lot of processed food, you might not be absorbing as many nutrients as you should. If you're struggling with diarrhea or constipation, again, you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need. And we do know that when you have a lot of inflammation in your body and you're eating a lot of inflammatory foods, that can be reflected in your skin. And we don't have the data to say the link between things like acne and diet. It's not as closely linked as people might think. We do know that a high glycemic index, eating like sugary foods, can worsen acne. And for some individuals, milk, especially skim milk or whey protein, can also flare acne. So we do know there is some connection, but it's not as simple as, oh, you're eating greasy pizza, that's why you have acne.
I was particularly curious in this area about the skin relationship with the liver and our diet. When I went through a period in my mid 40s, got really ill. Thyroid was off. I was in adrenal fatigue, a number of things, a number of life stressors, the environmental toxins probably as well. But my skin got very, very itchy. Now, when I was a child, I suffered hives and had eczema around my lips to the point where it was so obvious I would get teased as a child. I just thought everybody went through that anyway. But as I got older, I started paying attention. But the burning itchiness, particularly around the eyes. And so I did a complete elimination diet and a combination diet. And I said, I got to get to the bottom of this. Something I'm consuming in my diet is affecting, and it's manifesting first and foremost in my skin. I want to bring that back to menopause, and that could have been for me an early sign of perimenopause. But when we're starting to get those early signals of the thinning skin, the itching, the burning skin, whether it's on our face, other parts of our body, even the vaginal area, what should be the first thing that women should be paying attention to when they start getting these sensations? And I say before they go out and spend all kinds of money to glob on creams and lotions and more junk.
Yeah. Well, probably I would say the first thing would be go see your primary care, your GYN, right?
Mhm.
Because estrogen, we haven't even talked about estrogen, and the patch can be really, really helpful and ameliorating these symptoms for women. And a lot of times people want to get to the root cause. Well, the root cause, if you're perimenopausal, menopausal, is the estrogen decline. And so sometimes just getting on estrogen replacement, hormone replacement therapy, or topical estrogen cream can be really, really key if the main reason is the declining estrogen in that period. So I would say that would be a key thing to do. Another would be to look at what you're using, what products you're using. Maybe you're using too much. Maybe your skin by using a lot of different actives. Uh, and your daughter hasn't listed them out the way, and you're not following her instructions and you're using them all at once, right? I would say dryness is big. Something I've noticed too is that my skin is more dry than ever. So I'm needing to moisturize more than ever. You may need to invest in a humidifier if you live somewhere that's really dry, cold winters, just to help give that moisture back to your skin. And then look at your diet and your lifestyle. Are you drinking a lot of alcohol that can really dehydrate you? Are you eating a lot of processed foods? High glycemic index, very pro inflammatory, right? This is going to affect your overall body. And then when your skin is like a reflection of the health of your body internally. So when you are sick on the inside or have kind of chronic inflammation, your skin is going to reflect that as well.
That's a good point, and you've stressed that before. But this is a good segue to talk about estrogen and estrogen therapy or combination therapy if women still has their uterus. So let's go into that, because I'm always a true believer that an HRT, the Studies of Menopause Society, is revealing to us the safety, the efficacy, and debunking the Women's Health Initiative of 2002, and that it's safe to prescribe, it's safe for women to take it, be it a variety of forms of administration, a gel, a topical cream, or gel pellets, or oral progesterone, for example. So let's talk about specifically and improving our healthcare, our health regime, but our skin health regime with a HRT, or here in Canada, we'll say menopause hormone therapy.
Yeah. So again, I'm not a GYN. I don't actually prescribe this myself, but
Yeah.
you better believe I will be taking it when I start experiencing these symptoms, because we just know that estrogen is so key in our life, and we're asked to live, or we're wanting to live so many years past menopause, which we've never done before in the history of humanity, right? And we want to live as healthy as we can. So speaking specifically about skin, our skin cells have estrogen receptors. And so women have been using estrogen on their skin. They've probably been using their vaginal estrogen cream on their skin. Even back in the 40s, cosmeceuticals had estrogen cream, or had estrogen in the creams back before the FDA was even a thing. And so this isn't really a new thing to be using estrogen in our topical skincare, but it's sort of getting a resurgence, especially as we now realize it's safe, you don't have systemic absorption, and we're seeing the benefits that it can help with hydration. It can help improve the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and just make our skin look healthier. So that's where I'm seeing it a lot, is women coming in asking, their skin's dry, they're noticing changes, sagging skin, and they're using vaginal cream or vaginal estrogen cream, and they're wondering if they can use something similar on the rest of their skin. And you can.
Well, that is a great tip. I will include that as my key takeaway to this one. That can be effective in other places of the body. Very.
Yes, right? I mean, and the good news is, if you are worried about systemic absorption, is that it has not been shown to have any systemic absorption. And you also can use the cream even if you are on other forms of hormone replacement therapy. That's sometimes a question I hear people ask. They think they can't be on both, but you can.
That you can, you absolutely can. That myth has been completely debunked as well. And again,
Yeah.
and you alluded to this, science presses on. The research is showing more and more, and supplemental research will come out as we begin to research the female body more and more, and not under the context of, if this is the male body, then the female body,
Exactly.
right? Wrong. And we're learning more and more. And I continue to try to share that latest research. So let's talk about the work that you're doing. You are so passionate about skincare. You have launched a podcast. Tell us about the Skin Reel, your podcast, and because you're now rated in the top 2.5%. Congratulations. And what does that tell you? Listeners really care about their skin and what to do about it.
Thank you. And I'll find some, my most popular episodes are ones about this. So I think women are finally saying, yes, people are talking about this. I have questions. I want to know. And so these are definitely my most popular episodes. So thanks to women like you who are spreading this kind of information, education. But really the impetus for me was to bring good skin information to people because I just saw that there was a lot of noise out there, a lot of hype and gimmicks, and there I didn't find really good education from dermatologists. I trained back in a time where doctors were just supposed to see patients in their clinic. You weren't supposed to put yourself out there on social media, but the times have changed, and this is where people get their information on podcast and social media for wrong, right, or indifferent, right? So I just wanted to be an educated voice for people. And maybe you live somewhere where you can't see a dermatologist or there's a 6 month wait, right? And you're wondering, well, how do I take care of my skin? What do I really need to do? This is just a way to hopefully provide good value and education for people about their skin health because we love to talk about our skin. We see it, we see the changes. And I just find that people are thirsty for this information and really, especially women 40 plus, are just wanting this kind of information out there. And finally, we are talking about it, which is great.
Hallelujah to that. That conversation needs to spread to a wide audience more and more. And for me, I really think in this topic in particular, it needs to spread to a younger audience so they can
Mhm.
start preventative measures today in preparation for what's going to come tomorrow. So they're not so shock and awe because the Gen X generation, we're just, oh, what? My mother never spoke about this. And it's
Yeah,
been disconcerting and upsetting. And exactly that's why we are shaking things up, changing the status quo. But for
yeah.
our younger audience, because I hope to have my 22-year-old daughter tune in and listen to this as well. She knows so much about skincare already. But one thing that I hadn't touched on, and this is what concerns me, is that a lot of the cosmetic products that we're seeing, and the girls today, oh, there's far more done up and beautiful than I ever was, maybe you as well. I never spent more than 5 minutes, a couple of flicks of mascara, maybe some lip gloss, boom, out the door. But it is an entire ritual for a lot of young women. Tell
Yeah.
us, is there any concern, things we should be aware of about putting on such heavy layers of cosmetics for the skin, the health of the skin? Is it damaging to the skin, and what should they be aware about further down the road?
Yeah, well, I love your message, right? I'll say the best, if you want beautiful skin at 50, take care of your skin, wear sunscreen, take care of your body at 20, right? That's the best. Prevention is so, so, so key. And yeah, my mom never talked about menopause. I didn't hear about it, but hopefully now the younger generation will. But the younger generation really loves skincare, right? Like we hear Sephora babies. I see it in my 9 and 10-year-old. They are very into skincare. My son was like, Mom, let's do a reel where you're dripping all the oils on your face. And I was like, but I don't use those. And he was super disappointed. So they're being inundated with this. But my message for them would just be you don't have to do all these things. And yes, I call it the hot girl hamster wheel. I was on the hot girl hamster wheel
Mm.
about when I was probably in my early 20s. And I had this like elaborate routine I would do every single day. And eventually I just couldn't keep up with it when I was in the hospital and pulling 36-hour shifts and all this. And I realized this is ridiculous. This isn't how I want to live my life. And I couldn't afford it either. So I would just tell people like to be careful about getting on this hot girl hamster wheel where you feel like you have to do all these things. 18-year-olds don't need anti-aging serums. They don't need to be using all of these actives. Really wear sunscreen, right? That's going to be the most impactful. But your collagen is at its peak at 18. You do not need to be boosting your collagen. Now, 25, 28, focus more on lifestyle and healthy habits, right? That's going to get you so much farther than making sure, are you using the right peptides or vitamin C serum? I think we focus too much on that and not enough on lifestyle, managing stress, right? I mean, I feel for the younger generation there. It's a crazy world we're living in now, and there's a lot of stress. You're always connected. You have these sort of unrealistic images you're trying to live up to, and you see everyone's highlight reel. So I would say, yeah, lifestyle, manage stress, take time for things that really nurture you, and be a little less fixated on anti-aging at 25, and really focus on other things. You've got plenty of time to worry about that, but I would say lifestyle, nutrition, healthy habits, start those in your 20s. That's going to get you a lot farther than a complicated skincare routine.
Oh, true. You've imparted some excellent words of wisdom, Mary Alice, and thank you for that. I do want to ask if you could leave our listeners with one thing. For me, I mean, we can take care of the skin on our face, hands, back of the hands kind of start to show our age,
Yeah.
but nothing shows our age more is the neck area, all in this chest area. And of course, it's very voluptuous for women to show off some cleavage. So, what is some things that we should know about the neck and the chest area? And what can we do to protect it so that we can slow down the aging and not make it so obvious?
Yes, no, I hear you. That is one of the first areas you notice aging. And I can feel the top of my hands do look older than my face because I just took better care of my face. So I would say if you're 20, or I would say if you're in your 30s or 40s and you're using, or really any age, right? But prevention is key. I wish I had used my retinoid, not just on my face when I was younger. I wish I had pulled it on down to my neck and my chest. So I would say don't think about your skincare as just your face. It also is your neck and that décolletage area on your chest, because you're so right. That does show signs of aging. On the neck, sun protection is key. Tops of hands. I know it sounds silly, but I actually do drive with UPF gloves on because I live in Atlanta. It's very, very sunny, and I can feel that sun coming in through the windshield, pounding on the tops of my hands. And it's hard to wear sunscreen on your hands because you're always washing your hands. But for the neck, so yeah, sunscreen, retinoids. I really love biostimulants in this area. Things like Sculptra, Radiesse can be powerful in boosting collagen, or some laser treatments that can also help boost collagen, in addition to the things we've talked about before. But yes, neck is tricky. Neck is tricky for sure. And there are lots of devices, lots of things out there. There's not like a one slam dunk, oh yeah, this is it. This is going to fix your neck. And sometimes it really just takes a neck lift. Like if you really have a lot of sagging skin, really no device, no taking enough collagen supplements is going to make that go away. And so either accept it and embrace it, or sometimes it really just needs to be surgically removed.
Right. Yeah. And that can be quite expensive. So,
Exactly. Yeah. So again, prevention, pull that retinoid on down to cover your neck, and make sure you put the sunscreen on it.
that's right. Yeah. Because it doesn't stop at the chin, it goes right down.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put it out there, Mary Alice. I would love for you to come back again on a frequent basis if we can make it work, because we didn't touch on those surgical, like laser chemical peels. We didn't even so much as discuss that on this episode, but there's so much we could unpack when it comes to taking those fillers, or even the getting some, what we're trying to say here. I've already lost my words.
Yeah. Like all the procedures. Yeah. The
Botox.
in
There we
office.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all those procedures. Because again, much like we're seeing a lot of the anti-aging creams on the rise, we're also seeing a lot of these procedures on the rise. More and more clinics are opening up. A lot of regular GPs are leaving their practice to go into the field of cosmetics. So I would love, just putting it out there, and we'll let the listeners to agree with me, to bring you back so we can tap in on that. But what you had to share today, fantastic. Great news. Simple things that we can do without spending a whole lot of money. It's easily available, readily available in our food, in our lifestyle choices, at the gym, heavy weights, and of course, at the drugstore. Simple. Don't have to go and
Yeah.
cosmetics. Share with
Ab-
listeners where we can find you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I would love to come back anytime. Yeah. Talk about in-office procedures, at-home procedures and devices. I get a lot of that too. But yeah, if people want to find out more about skin, you can listen to my podcast, The Skin Real, REAL. And I'm at Dr. Mina Skin. And for anyone listening who kind of wants to know what their skincare style is, I've got a fun little quiz you can take at theskinreal.com/style.
I will get that in the show notes. Fantastic. This has been really helpful information for all of our listeners to hear. And I'm very grateful to have brought you on the show, Mary Alice. Thank you.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
From this conversation with Mary Alice, these are my key takeaways. Right off the top, number one, less is best. When it comes to our skincare, we don't have to spend more money, buy more products, and get the best, latest gimmick of more this, more anti-aging that, more collagen this. Simple healthcare regime that involves cleansing once a day, if any time of day, at night to wash away the dirt, the debris, a good sunscreen in the morning, no matter what time of year, and moisturize. Simple things. If there's going to be any more in that whole list, it would be more sunscreen. Prevention is the best medicine. Yes. How can we prevent our skin from aging? Well, it's going to age anyways, but we can prevent the long-term skin health concerns like cancer by investing in good sunscreen and practicing good sun protection methods, such as wearing a hat with a wide rim, even wearing sunscreen when you're in your car because UV rays are still penetrating through the windshield. Avoiding long exposure in the sun, even if it's just to get more vitamin D, because research is telling us in the northern hemispheres, we are not getting enough vitamin D just from the sun alone. So supplement, which brings me to my next point, supplements. First, seek nutrients in our food first and foremost. And then where we can't get enough, such as vitamin D3, we can supplement. And nothing shows up worse on our skin than a bad night's sleep. And magnesium is one supplement that I personally can't go without, as it seems I can't get enough in my food sources. It comes in many forms and it can be confusing. But if I were to recommend only two, it would be citrate, which is excellent to relieve constipation, and biglycinate for sleep. Poor skin at any age, like acne, is also a telltale sign there is an imbalance in the gut microbiome. Mary Alice mentioned in this episode that there is an intricate relationship between the gut, skin, and brain. So I went digging. Research into menopause shows that hormonal shifts can affect gut microbiome diversity. So fuel your skin on the inside with a healthy diet that is low in sugar, refined carbs, and processed foods, and rich in macronutrients. As suggested, try out the Mediterranean diet, which is packed with all the essential nutrients for total body health. Brain, bones, heart. Feeding the gut right is like supercharging the good bacteria as they regulate immune signals and hormone metabolism in the body. A happy gut translates to brighter, more balanced skin. And next key takeaway, but not the last, on the topic of estrogen loss, not well researched, but on the rise, thanks to leading researchers in the field of women's hormone health. Vaginal atrophy, burning, painful sex, which is also known as dyspareunia, all play a role in lowering your libido, which we talked about extensively in our last episode. And vaginal creams are proving effective in addressing some of these issues. Now, using these same creams for vaginal health on the face, well, I looked into this also and found some interesting findings, which I'll link in the show notes. In essence, novel clinical results do support improvements of estrogen deficient skin by reducing pore size, increasing elasticity, decrease in wrinkle depth, and increase in moisture. So now before you go rush off and apply topical creams, seek the advice of professionals such as a dermatologist and your GP, and do your homework. Knowledge is power if applied wisely. And one last key takeaway, one very important point to make, and that's about collagen. It is certainly garnering so much hype from the latest drinks, creams, supplements. But what gets my attention most is conversations around lifestyle choices and changes that maximize your return on your investment. And at the top should be resistance training, which can boost collagen synthesis. I also went digging into this point raised by Mary Alice. And yes, this too has compelling studies indicating it is beneficial for skin. Apart from giving you an after workout youthful glow, research is understanding how it improves the thickness of the dermis, which is that middle layer of the skin, as well as elasticity and structure. Collagen alone is worth such an entire episode because it is so complex, and that's why I would really love to bring back Mary Alice. But for now, I would say do your research and don't fall prey to the gimmicks and the hype just yet. Talk to the professionals first in this field. But hey, you'll get more bang for your healthcare dollars with kettlebells and dumbbells for total body benefits, as well as improving your skin. Okay, lots to unpack on skin. It is the biggest organ of our body, so of course is worthy of several more discussions. Most of them you can find on Mary Alice's podcast, The Skin Real, spelled REAL, and is linked in the show notes. And on that site, you can also find her quiz about skincare, so be sure to check that out. And I'm going to leave you with a quick little cheat sheet on skincare called Love the Skin You're In. Oddly enough, this was created as an assignment during my menopause doula certification course a few years ago, and I knew one day that this would come in handy. If today's insights resonated with you, I'd love for you to be a part of our growing community of menopause disruptors. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. And if you know someone who can benefit from these conversations, please share this episode. Sometimes a simple act of sharing can be the first step in someone's healing journey. And hey, if you're ready to take the next step in your menopause journey, I'm here to support you. You can find all my services, including my comprehensive menopause intelligence digital course, one-on-one coaching programs, and workplace education services at mlcoaching.com. It's in the show notes. Want to stay connected and get regular doses of menopause wisdom? Follow me on Instagram at Menopause Disruptor Podcast, where I share tips, insights, and real conversations about navigating this transformative phase of life. Let's continue to disrupt this menopause conversation together. Remember, midlife should be the best life, and it will be. Namaste.